Women weaken legs.
Welcome, everyone, to episode number 5. I'm your host and your boy, Santos, proud owner of Santos Threads. Make sure you check us out for the latest and greatest in streetwear, urban apparel, and accessories for men and women. Make sure you check out Santos-Threads, SANTOS-THREADS.com. Subscribe today on our website for a nice discount. Right now, we're giving 20% off your first order. Make sure you take full advantage of that. And here we are, once again, episode 5. I can't believe how fast time goes. Like, I feel like it was just yesterday I was doing episode 1. I mean, it goes really fast. So today's topic is going to be a little different. I know I haven't really touched another sports topic since episode 2. This is not going to be necessarily a sports topic, but it's going to be relative, and I'll explain. You're going to see what I mean when I get into it. So the topic on this one is going to be how men's relationships with women are the same as boxing. And I'm going to explain this. I'm going to break this down for you guys. I'm a big boxing fan, a big sports fan. And so it's been years that I've kind of seen this analogy. I think it really goes. It really applies. It really goes well. And so in this episode, I'm going to be breaking this down. Like, this is the thing that I've really thought this out. This is something that I really have wanted to talk about for a long time, but I've kind of just put it on the side, and I was thinking about how I wanted to lay it out. So this is kind of my philosophy on our relationships as men with women. And so I want to start by quoting the late great actor from Rocky. I think he appeared in the first 3 Rockies. You remember the trainer affectionately known as Mickey? You're going to get him, Rock. Oh, Rock, he's hitting you. He's hitting you, Rock. Remember that guy? Yeah. The late great actor. To quote the late great Meredith Burgess from Rocky, women weaken knees. And this couldn't be any more prevalent to today's times, and this applies to any era. Women weaken knees. And I will explain with this how this kind of ties in. You're going to hear, you're going to see, you're going to know how this ties in, because this is totally applicable to today's times, without a shadow of a doubt. So it's funny. On the surface, when you hear boxing, when you think of dating, when you think of relationships, you're like, man, this couldn't be any further from the truth, right? I mean, they couldn't be any more different. It's not true. That's not true. I can tell you from personal experience, dating and relationships with a woman are exactly like boxing. It's exactly like boxing. It's so comparable because it's one of those things that you deal with different things, especially as you go along and you have different experiences. You deal with different experiences. So it's one of those things that as you go along, you learn something every time, right? So let me break it down from the beginning, right? As a boxer, think of yourself as a boxer when you're first starting out in your training. I got to fix this mic. This mic is kind of, I'll be honest. I'll keep it 100 with you guys. Whoever's watching me on the video, I place everything so that people can see what I'm wearing. Like, that's part of the deal. That's just part of the deal. Like, I place the microphone and the camera strategically so you can see what I'm wearing. Last time I had it, I messed up. In my last episode, I was a mess. I mean, I messed up I had this weird cutoff thing, and it was a mess. Like, I cut off half of my torso, whatever. But we in business this week. So I just want to make it very clear. Boxing and relationships, and look, I'm speaking from a guy's point of view. Women, this is applicable to women as well. So when you're first starting out, right? When you're first starting out as a boxer, you're a prospect. You're what is called a prospect. So think of you as a prospect when you're 15, 16, 17 years old. You're in high school. You first learn to talk to girls. You're making your interactions. At that point, you don't know anything. You don't have experience. You've never dealt with rejection. You've never faced losses. You don't have any professional fights. You're an amateur. Think of yourself in that point of your life is like a boxer who's an amateur. You have very few experience, very few fights, very little experience. You're rough around the edges, maybe. You're green behind the ears, whatever you want to call it. You have no experience. You're very, you're not battle tested. But you might have something that is called, I like to call it in Spanish, labia. I will explain what labia is. Labia is like you got the gift of gab, like you know how to, you're a talker. Some people are either born with it or you're not. The labia, or as I call it, gift of gab, right? Labia is something that you generally have or you don't. Very few people can develop that. Labia in boxing terms would be like your pegada. See, I'm doing this in Spanglish now, but pegada is like your power, right? Punching power. So your gift of gab or your labia is the equivalent to a boxer's natural punching ability. And you build off of that. So as a young man, I'll speak from personal experience. I always had labia. Like I always had as a young amateur boxer, what they would have as power, punching power. So in my own, not to toot my own horn, I'm just being honest. I had that, right? So, and a lot of guys have it. I'm not the only one. I'm not saying the only one. There's guys who have it. There's guys who they have it. They have charisma. They have, they know how to approach women, girls at the time. They know how to strike up a conversation just being themselves. Sure, they might add a little fluff. That's part of it. Well, in boxing terms, that's labia. Like labia is that. Boxing terms, that's your punching power. So a lot of guys have that natural punching power and they use it to get by. But what happens? As you go along, as you have more experiences, you deal with different scenarios, right? You might have a girl who doesn't understand your story, who doesn't relate to you. There might be a woman who doesn't like you, who's not attracted to you. And so these are interactions that will make or break you as a man. And it's up to you to determine what they do to you for the rest of your life, or in a boxer's sense, career. So as an amateur, you're going through the ranks. And then all of a sudden you're using your gift of gab, your labia, if you will. You're using that to demolish your opponents. Now follow me. In this instance, your opponent is going to be the woman. The opponent is your woman. And I'm not saying that she's your enemy or whatever. I'm saying it for the purposes of my discussion. The woman is your opponent. The only difference is in boxing, you're trying to knock out your opponent and knock them out or defeat them on the scorecard, right? In real life, your opponent, the woman or the girl, you're trying to court them. You're trying to get with them. You want to be with them, to be close to them, whatever the person's intent is. Or in some instances, some guys that just want to bed them. That's their prerogative. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying that's what you should do. I'm just giving it context. So whatever your objective is, that's what they're doing. So my thing is, so as you rise through the ranks, this is what you're doing. You're facing opponents. So when you're 16, 17 years old and you're an amateur, these opponents are easier. You understand? The women that you're dealing with, that you're encountering, the girls, they don't have experience yet either. So you're on that even level. You guys are learning together and you're building those relationships. And so in turn, if you have that punching power and you're developing that talent, your boxing talent in this case will be, you're learning how to move, right? You're learning how to talk. You're learning how to conduct yourself in certain situations. That is the equivalent of a boxer learning better footwork. The boxer is learning how to move better in the ring. Their timing is better. Their rhythm is better. Their punching power continues to be a major factor. And as you're an amateur and you're in the ranks, you're rising through the ranks as an amateur, because we're playing along here. This is amateurs, right? So we're in high school. We're amateurs now. We're knocking out people left and right now at this point as we're getting more experience. What I mean by knocking people out, you're a guy, you're a man, you're starting to get action. Girls are starting to like you. Girls are starting to gravitate towards you. You're getting a little swagger. You're learning how to dress. You're feeling more comfortable around the women. Women are starting to feel you. They love what you're saying. And then you start to become active. You start to finally, you're not a virgin anymore. You become sexually active. And you're starting to knock, for the purposes of this particular scenario, you're knocking the opponent out. What I mean by that, you're knocking them out left and right. All of a sudden, this guy's a hot prospect. In sports, there's always the hot prospect, the prospect with tons of talent who's rising through the ranks and who's just tearing it up, right? And that's what you're doing in high school. You're just, all of a sudden, you're on fire. You're one of those guys who you're a hot prospect. You're running through everybody. You're taking names, kicking ass and taking names. Your list is growing, right? Again, these are scenarios that are realistic, but they're not based on anyone's life per se. This is just an example of how it goes down, right? So you're taking them down. You're taking them down. All of a sudden, you're going on dates, and girls like you, and they feel your style, and all of a sudden, your confidence grows, and you're going through that competition like nothing. You're going through that competition. And all of a sudden, this is what happens. You keep knocking them out, and all of a sudden you believe it's easy. See, this is the equivalent of an easy. This is what an easy knockout is when you compare the worlds of dating or relationships with a woman and boxing. When you want an opponent, and this applies for way early in the game as well. I'm telling you, this still applies from childhood to adult, adolescence to adult. When you're a kid, you don't realize this, but you're going through the ranks. You're knocking people out. You're knocking opponents out left and right. You're getting action. Like you're getting more ass than a toilet seat. Like you're getting ass, right? You're a guy. You start to feel yourself. You got your chest poked out. And that's what happens with a boxer. A boxer is literally demolishing dudes. Like a dude, the guy is demolishing guys in the amateur ranks. He's like, oh, this is easy, right? I have gift of gab. I have labia, right? I'm knocking girls out left and right. Remember what I said about labia? Labia is your punching power. So you have your natural gifts of the gift of gab. You got a mouth. Like you know how to talk. The ladies love you because you know how to talk. You treat them right. You always have the right things to say. All that stuff, right? So you know when to say it, how to say it, and why you should say it. And so you're knocking girls out left and right. And you start feeling yourself. And then, but you don't realize something, a critical thing that you don't realize. The quality of opponent. What is the quality of opponent? Quality of opponent in boxing is the level of competition you're facing, right? If you're in the amateurs and you knock out 50 bums, 50 guys, let's just say you knocked out 50 guys, more than likely 45 to 47 of those guys you knocked out were bums. And what I mean by that is the level of competition is not great. You're facing other amateurs. You're facing people who have never boxed before. Like you're facing people who may not be as talented as you, but you make it look so easy. You're just demolishing guys left and right. You're undefeated in the amateurs. You're just knocking guys out. So in the dating world or the relationship world in high school, you're getting with girls left and right because it's so easy to do. You're doing it. For you, it's easy. You're thinking it's easy because you're not dealing with that mental. You're not dealing with that woman who is matured. You're not dealing with that woman who knows better, who knows your game. You're not dealing with a woman who's more cultured already. You're not dealing with a woman who knows how to fend for herself. So you're not dealing with a woman who knows what to expect in that ring, who knows how to combat what you're giving her. You're not dealing with that yet. So then when you get to that point, you graduate from high school, you go into college, and guess what? You rose through the ranks. The competition gets tougher. You find that it's not as easy to knock out your opponent. You're not getting those first round knockouts like you used to. No. You're not getting those first round TKOs or even second round TKOs. You're scuffling a little bit, aren't you? You might even start losing some fights. Now, how do you lose a fight? Losing a fight, basically, in this instance, is when it could be like when you're trying to court a girl and she's not interested in you. You take a big L. Like you struck out. Like you literally tried to talk to a girl and you did all the things you always did your whole life and it didn't work. And then that's a harsh reality. You fall down to earth and at that point you realize, holy shit, I'm not as good as I thought I was. You thought you were God's gift to women, didn't you? You thought that you could bag any chick you wanted. You were wrong. This is where the term "you've met your match" comes from. To have met your match means you've met an opponent. You fought a worthy opponent who knew what to prepare for. She knew what to prepare for your game. She saw your game coming from a mile away. She knew that you had pegada, gift of gab. She was prepared for your gift of gab, your power. She was ready for that right hook. She was ready for that left jab. She was ready for that uppercut that you like to throw. She was ready for it. So she kept blocking you. She was like Mayweather. Like you couldn't hit her. You tried. You were desperate. You thought you could use your labia, gift of gab, to get her. You thought that you could use that to knock her out. No, it was a fail. Why? Because you stepped up in competition, bro. You're not in the amateurs anymore. You're dealing with grown-ass women who know what to expect in that ring. They handle their business. They eat men like you for lunch. You ain't a player, bro. You thought you were. You thought you had it locked down. You thought you were a world champion fighter, but you weren't. Or were you? So you may have met your match. See, part of life is getting into these fights. You can't be afraid to take a loss. Just because you lose a couple fights doesn't mean your whole career is over. So I can tell you from personal experience. Now I'm going to get into personal experience without getting too deep. From personal experience, you got to learn how to take losses. Sometimes in life, you meet your match. Sometimes you're going to come across a woman who has no interest in you. And sometimes you're going to, and the same applies in that sometimes you come across a woman who is not the best for you. Now, and so as you rose through the ranks, you got so preoccupied with knocking girls out. Now, the knockout is when you actually bed them, right? Or you've captured them, you have them, you think they're all yours, you got them in your pocket, so to speak, right? You've hit it, so to speak. I mean that, for the purposes of this argument, right? And you thought you were the man. Everything got to your head until you got that loss and it humbled you. So then it's up to you. It's up to you, young man or old man or whoever you are, gentlemen. It is up to you to decide how you're going to proceed from that loss. As a boxer, it is your obligation. It is your duty. If you want to continue to fight, if you want to continue to enjoy your profession, it is your obligation, it is your duty to study that tape. You got to study the tape of where you went wrong. You got to go back in the gym and you got to work. That means not repeating the same mistakes. That means working on your skills, not just relying on punching power, your gift of gab, if you will, right? Sharpening your tools. And also that means picking out worthy opponents. Now, what is a worthy opponent? A worthy opponent is someone who, this is where it gets interesting. A worthy opponent is someone who is worth fighting for. I repeat, a worthy opponent is a woman who is worth fighting for. In boxing, it would be a worthy opponent. This is someone who is, you're stepping up in competition. You know you want to fight them. This opponent has a world championship. Let's just go with this, right? This woman is the world boxing champion. She is the elite of the elite of the elite. She's got titles. Let's say she's got titles in 2 divisions. She's got the WBC, the WBA, right? World title. She's got no losses. She's never lost. She's gorgeous. She gets any man she wants. But the difference is she's not easy to knock out. Meaning you're not gonna get to have your way with her. You're not gonna get into bed with her in 2 seconds. She saves herself. She's a hard nut to crack. She doesn't open up to just anyone. Her intentions are good. She wants the best for you, and when she loves passionately. But what's happened with her? She's been through the rough road. She's fought tons of tough opponents. She's knocked guys left out. She's knocked out guys left and right. She's knocked out opponents. She's knocked out bums. She's knocked out guys who are tough, who are equally as steadfast as her, but just fell short in something that meant something to her, so she didn't proceed. She may have been that woman that had that violent relationship, but learned from it and now is more guarded than ever. So now for you to capture her heart, for you to defeat her, if you will, to win the championship is that much harder. She's in the best place of her career she's ever been. Her jab has never been as strong. Her defense has never been this good. She's a defensive fighter. Remember that. A woman is a defensive fighter. They're not trying to knock you out. The man is the one who's the offensive fighter. Remember that. I repeat, the man is the offensive fighter. The woman is the defensive fighter. Think more Mayweather. A woman who is the top of the game, top of her craft, undefeated, top-notch, multiple division champion, undefeated type of fighter is that woman who's worth fighting for, is that champion. That's what you want to be. You want to be the champion. And to be the champion, you have to beat the champion. The only difference is if and when you're able to conquer this champion, you both win. That's the difference. You both win. Because this woman was worth it. She's not a bum that you fought in the amateurs when you were in high school. She's not a bum who had like 50 losses in their record. Their record was like 2 wins and like, 40 losses or something like that. And she's been knocked out 30 times. You don't want a woman who's been knocked out 30 times. Catch my drift. This is why I say boxing and relationships is exactly the same. You want a woman who is not easy to knock out, a quality opponent, top of the class, a woman who's not easy to knock out, a woman who is a defensive fighter, someone who's not going to just let you in, who's super duper defensive, but you know it's going to be worth it because she dedicates herself. She's dedicated to her family. She's a woman who has great high self-esteem, and she's going to be super hard. You're not going to be able to just use that gift of gab to bed her whenever you want. It doesn't work that way, homeboy. You got to go 12 rounds with her. Like, if you want to beat her, you got to go the distance with her. You got to beat her to the punch. You have to beat her to the punch. Blow for blow, anticipation. And that is what I call a quality opponent. That will be someone who's battle-tested, who's worth fighting for. You're in the ring with somebody who's worth fighting for. That's somebody who you're trying to, when you bed her, now let me be clear, to win the championship is not just going to be to bed her. It's to keep her and maintain her. And to get to that level where you guys are like this, you guys are one. That's when you won the championship. That's when you won. You've captured her when you know, okay, she's yours, you're hers, and you've captured the championship belts. She's that one. There's nobody else. She's the one that was worth it. It's hard to find her. I'm not saying it's easy. It's not easy. Stuff happens. But at the same time, the greater the struggle, the more quality opponent she was and is. In the end, it's worth it. You find yourself that you're a champion because you won the title. And remember, women weaken legs. What I mean by that, and what I'm sure the great Meredith Burgess meant, in that movie, in the purposes of that movie, he was trying to get Rocky to be focused, right? Laser focus. Focus on the task at hand. It's the same thing here, but the only difference is because I'm comparing boxing to women. In this case, the analogy is going to be boxing and women. It's going to be women related to the relationships. So it's going to be, since women do weaken legs, it is up to us to train. We got to keep our legs strong. How do you keep your legs strong? Constantly make yourself better. Make yourself a better person. You tested yourself in that gym training, preparing for things. This is how you're going to get better. This is how you get strong. You build up your character. Losing builds character. Don't be afraid to lose. So those boxing matches that you lost, that you you thought you were just going to be able to get by being able to speak good and be a pretty handsome face, and those days are over. Those were in the amateurs. You're in the big leagues now. You're facing off against the top-notch competition. If you fight against the top-notch competition and you're able to capture her, you're a champion. And that would have been worth it. That is a worthy opponent, and that is somebody who you want to win. You don't want a woman who was an easy opponent. It's cool when you're in the amateurs. You're 16, 17, 18 years old, maybe through parts of your 20s. It's cool. Yeah, you want to pad your record? Pad your record. Go 20-0. You want to bet 30. You want to bet 40, 50, whatever. Whatever number to your heart's content. The record that you have, that number you have is hollow. It means you fought no one. That's what it means. If you were putting girls down left and right, I mean this respectfully, obviously. If you're having relationships with girls and you're just preoccupied with having sex with them on the first date and you had like 50 of them like that, they were all first round knockouts. That means you fought nobody. That's what that means. That means you're not prepared for life and you fought nobodies. And when you actually step up in competition, when you face a woman who's your match, a woman who knows the game, who knows what to expect, who won't tolerate the BS, you're in for a surprise. You're going to be knocked out in the first round. And when the man gets knocked out in the first round, that's not the same as when the woman knocks out. But it's not the same as when the man's got the quick knockout. When the man gets knocked out, that means, dude, game over. You've been rejected. Or, dude, she broke up with you. You're done, like early in the game. So you don't want to get to that situation. So the greater you don't want to have a woman who especially when you get to a certain age. Like I said, when you're in the amateurs and you're young, knock them all out. Go ahead. Test your skills. Knock them all out. But as you step into competition, none of that stuff works. Take it from me. I know. It doesn't work. You got to step up in competition and you got to test your skills and you got to work on yourself. How do you get in the gym when it comes to these relationships? Self-evaluation. You keep it real with yourself. Self-reflection. What are my flaws? What have I done wrong? What have I said wrong in the past to women that they've rejected me? Do I have body odor? Do I dress like a clown? Did I not buy clothes at Santos Threads? You should, right? Did I not, I don't know, whatever. I forgot to put deodorant on last night. I don't know. My breath stinks, right? Whatever it may be. These little things. What is wrong with me? What are my character flaws? Now, don't get me wrong. We all have character flaws. Like, I got a bunch of flaws. Like look, I'm a flawed guy like anybody else. We're all flawed, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, we're here to interrupt with an important bulletin. Men are not perfect. Over. Sorry about that. So, yes, we are not perfect. We are not perfect. None of us are perfect, people. We are not. So you're not going to find perfect. What you want is worthy. There's a difference between worthy and perfect. You want a worthy opponent that's going to test you. It's going to challenge you. Because you know at the end of the day, once you get that victory, it's worth it. You're going to be the champion for real. You want to be champions for real. Your record don't mean shit if you fought a bunch of scrubs and you knocked out a bunch of scrubs in the amateurs or when you first turned professional and you're just fighting a bunch of you don't want to just have a bunch of sleazy names under your belt. They say, oh, I beat this one, I beat that one. Because there's always going to be that person that says, you didn't fight anybody. Look at these chicks that you beat, right? Let's say for the sake of right? In boxing, let's get back to boxing. Look at these opponents you beat. They're a bunch of scrubs. This guy had this woman had a broken leg when you fought her. Or this one had no speed. Or the other one showed up in the fight out of shape, right? Or this one ain't beat nobody, or whatever. This one always gets knocked out in the first round, right? They're gonna say, look at that chick. Yeah, you hit that already. Yeah, you hit that. Everybody else hit that. That's the equivalent of like a first round knockout. Oh, she always gets knocked out in the first round. She's a scrub. So you beat a scrub and you want to poke your chest out like you're the man. That's what you are. That's the equivalent of somebody who doesn't get it, who's just going to continue to go for these first round knockouts, if you will, and celebrate them. That's not the idea. The idea is, as men, you want to go for the titles, the world titles. You want to meet your match. We've all met our match. That's what you want to get to, that point where you're like, oh, crap, I can't crack this one. I can't beat her. But it motivates you to want to. And the way you know when you have is when it's reciprocal, when that love is reciprocated, when you guys have that time together, when your relationship is like that on that level. And that's how you know, okay, you know what? I've met my match, but she keeps me in line. She keeps me sane. She compliments me. She's tough as nails, but I've made it, Nothing is perfect. Nothing is easy. Everything is a fight. It's a struggle. But we made it. I'm a champion for real because I got through that struggle. It was a hard-fought battle. It was a hard-fought fight. But we made tons of money together on the pay-per-view, right? See, because this is boxing. We made tons of money on the pay-per-view. We went blow for blow. And in the 12th round, I won by decision. And I'm holding the titles in my hand right now. And I'm like, Viva Puerto Rico! Whatever. I'm pretending I'm a boxer. So that's it. That's how it is. And so that's my little analogy. You never want to just pad your record. Men, do not pad your records with these mediocre scrubs. Like I said, it's cute when you're younger and you're doing it. But as you get older, you got to challenge yourself. You got to face off against top-notch, stiff competition, and it'll make you better. Steel sharpens steel. So in the end, it will. A true champion is measured by the level of competition. The same applies in relationships with women. And again, I made the argument from a man's vantage point because obviously I'm a man. So a woman can also make the same analogy and it applies if you just fit it from a woman's vantage point. It's the same thing. The relationships you encounter are supposed to strengthen you. They're supposed to build your endurance. They build character for you. And when there's a man worth fighting for, you will fight. It's the same thing. You will fight until you get that victory and you capture that championship. The same applies for a woman as well. So I just thought I'd make that little analogy. This was something I kind of always thought about. And for me, it was like a very easy analogy to make. You know what's funny? It's summertime, right? I mean, pretty much summertime. I'm going to open this up. This right here It's not an official sponsor, but this is the best seltzer water I have ever had. I absolutely love this seltzer water. Polar Seltzer. I don't know if they're listening or watching. Guys, you need to hit me up. Like, this is an unofficial pitch. I know I'm giving you guys free advertising, but you know what? I love, this is the lime flavor. I get these from Costco all the time. This drink is tremendous. This is the best seltzer I've ever had. I absolutely love it, especially in the summertime. So refreshing, nice and cold. There are only a couple things I drink. You know, I anybody who knows me knows I don't drink a lot. I drink water. I drink coffee. I might drink tea. Occasionally, maybe wine, and seltzer. But this is what I drink a lot of. Polar Seltzer. This right here, you guys need to hit me up because I would love to be an ambassador of this brand and of this product. This right here, this is top notch. Like, get a load of that. Like that, I'm telling you. They're tremendous. I love them. And they're kind of like an unofficial sponsor because I go through these like nothing. You know, they're really good. So refreshing. So what do you guys think? I'm curious. Make sure you get at me. Make sure you hit me up on the Instagram, Santos Thread Shop. The Instagram, Santos Thread Shop. For business inquiries, make sure you email me at Santos Threads. It will be santosthreads@gmail.com. I'm on TikTok as well, Santos Threads, but I don't love posting on TikTok that much. I feel like it's very juvenile. I'm there because I have to be, but I don't really post much there. But you can always throw a message at me there if you so choose. On the YouTube, Santos Says. Make sure you check us out every Thursday, the Santos Says podcast. Check out our merch too, man. We got merch, man. I'll be repping the merch hard. Right here, I got this. Anyone watching on the YouTube, I'm rocking the official ST fitted right here. This is sharp right here. Like, this is not just because I make it, but like it's sharp. Like, I mean, this right here is you know, this is, you know, come on, like, you know what I mean? So it has it's available in 2 different sizes. It has like a flex fit inside. So, and the official Santos Threads baseball tee right here with number 21. This is kind of like an ode to one of my idols, Roberto Clemente. So this is kind of like like a nod to him, if you will. Plus, it's the year that we were established, which is 2021. So make sure you check us out, santos-threads.com as well. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your opinions on this. I hope you enjoyed this episode and the analogies, the boxing analogy that I made. And again, thank you all for checking me out. And again, remember, it's very important. Do not just say what you mean or mean what you say. Say it with your chest. Peace.